Welcome to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast. I'm your host, Brazos. Today we're going to be talking with Amani Roberts. Have you ever thought of using your passion and your creativity for your work? Are you a DJ? I know I am, and you're going to love this. We're going to be talking about Amani Roberts. He's a DJ, author, and creative spirit that is going to help us figure out how we can use the power of our creativity and our passion in our work, and also tell us about this cool DJ career that he's been doing for 17 years right after he got into hospitality. So I know this is going to be a fun interview. Welcome to the podcast. Let's get on with it with Amani Roberts. All right, everybody. On the line, I've got Amani Roberts. How are we doing today, Amani?
We're doing well, Bruce. How are you doing?
Good, good. Where are you from? Are you out on the West Coast? You California or?
Yeah, I'm based in Las Vegas. So Las Vegas,
Las
Nevada.
Vegas. Oh.
Yeah.
Did they send? I'm by Toronto, Canada. Did they send you on to try and get us Canadians to come back down? Because that's all we're hearing is that Vegas wants us back. Right?
Yeah, that would be a good idea because the Canadians are staying away for the time being.
Yeah, we'll leave that alone. We're not getting. This is not a political show, my friend. So yeah. I am excited to talk with you. Being a fellow DJ as well, it's always interesting to talk to somebody else. But you've done a lot of things from what I've been seeing. Like, holy smokes, you are. Yeah, people. I thought I was bad. I'm reading your stuff. It's crazy. So, bring us up to date. So, are you a professional DJ today?
Yes, professional DJ, music business professor, and fractional artist manager. Those are kind of my main things I do, and also an author of books, as 2 books, as you know.
So what's the fractional artist manager? Is that for musicians or?
Yeah, like musicians, primarily musicians. I help them make better business decisions and just earn more money, unlocking like revenues that are mixing, make sure they get their royalties, activating their platforms, things like that.
How's that working for you?
Working well. You know, I coach people, I teach them, and sometimes I help them, done for you solutions. So it's working well.
That was a bit of a joke, Amani, because I have an internet radio station here. We work with a lot of indie artists in our area here, and nobody seems to be making any money. That's why I joked when you said that, but that's okay. Maybe they should listen to your book or read your book and listen to your podcast. That might help. So bring us up to date. So you're a DJ. So tell us kind of how you got started, because you were in hospitality before, if I was reading correctly. Now you're DJ, and it looks like you're getting onto a lot bigger stages and stuff. So kind of give us the overview of how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I started DJing almost 20 years ago. I was moved to LA, and before that, I had wanted to be a DJ in other cities I lived in, but just never really had the kind of courage to go for it. Moved to LA, started teaching myself, then went to Scratch Academy, which is like a school for DJs and music production. Went there twice, and that really helped kind of get me started. And then from there, it's just been networking, going from smaller venues to a little bit larger, just continuing to build, network, and grow from there.
Now, what type of events do you do? Because when people hear DJ, they assume we do all the same events. And I'm a radio DJ. Our genre for our station is truck shows, and it's the trucking community. So I'll do truck shows, car shows. I don't have anything later than the 90s. Like my genres are basically 50s to the 90s. Right? I'm an old guy. Okay. I'm older than you. So I wouldn't do clubs. Are you doing clubs? Like, what kind of events are you doing?
Every once in a while, I do a club. I do primarily corporate events and lounges. Okay. That's what I kind of specialize in, corporate and lounges. I can rock a club. I have done that in the past. But nowadays, I pretty much focus on like the lounges and corporate events.
Okay, good. Because I get asked for weddings. I go, I don't have the wedding stuff. I'm a caricature artist as well, so that's what I do for weddings. So I'm actually I'm a visual artist. I've got 6 books out, so I'm an author. So I've been on stage. So I'm doing a lot of what you're doing there. But I really like the podcast and radio side of things. So now, okay, so let's get into give us a tip that for musicians. Let's help these guys out, because they are really hurting a lot of them. This streaming thing is killing them. What are you seeing? I guess in general, it doesn't have to be musicians. What are you seeing in general that creative entrepreneurs are struggling with these days?
Well, so I'll give you a tip that I tell musicians and creatives. Number 1, spend less time focusing on your social media followers and more time growing your email list. I think when you work on your own platforms, website, email list primarily, that's going to be more meaningful than social media followers. I know it looks good and the metrics look good, the vanity metrics look good. That'd be one advice. For musicians specifically, make sure you're getting all the revenue that you're owed. Sign up for your PRO, Performance Rights Organization. Make sure you're getting your digital royalties, everything mechanical. Like a lot of musicians, popular musicians, are leaving money on the table. Those would be the first two tips I would give.
Okay, okay. Do you work with indie musicians, or are the ones you work with mostly established already?
Mostly independent and then maybe mid-tier where they're not to a label yet, but they have a desire to potentially get to a label, but they want to grow their own strong community so they have some leverage.
Yeah, because the way I hear that music is starting now is if you've got to bring the audience with you. The days of the
Yeah.
label picking you up and then kind of sending you out is gone from what I'm hearing from most people. In fact, I've got a couple that are in that mid tier as well, and they're saying, hey, if we don't have the big following, they're not really interested, no matter how good a musician we are, which I think is sad because there's a lot of
Yeah.
good music out there for sure. So,
Agreed.
what do you love about being a DJ the most? What's the best part of it?
The best part would be when you play a song and the crowd is vibing to it and you cut the volume and the crowd is still singing along. That's the best part right there.
Okay. When you go from fast to slow.
Yes, yes.
I noticed you are still using turntable. Are you using turntable still, or is that just an older video? I was kind of saw you doing it.
No, I still rock on turntables for sure. Turntables, and if I go to a venue where they have the system set up, it's primarily a controller or CDJs. So I will bring out for corporate events. If I have to bring my equipment, I'll bring out like a Rev 7, so a controller. But yeah, definitely turntables. I still can do work on those.
Good for you. That's how I learned. And I didn't plan on being a DJ, but when I was a teenager, I was really into roller skating, and my buddy was the DJ for us. So when he wanted to go for a skate, he'd say, "Bruce, come on in." And so I learned to scratch and all that back in the day. I'm no good at it now, but at least I know how it works.
Yeah.
But I don't do that. The nice thing about radio is nobody really wants to hear you cut a song. They want to hear the whole song before you change the rights.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's cool. You talk a lot about some of the things like customer service and flexibility, professionalism in the industry, which is what I talk a lot about. I find a lot of creatives are very focused on their art, not focused on the business side or the customer service side. And you and I both do corporate events, so that side's almost more important some days. What are a couple things that you think? What has helped you in those categories as far as helping your business go? Like, is there something that you've done in customer service that really kind of helps you stay ahead of the people? Or
Yeah, I would say, first, if you keep this thought in mind, like if you treat it like a business, it's going to pay you like a business. If you treat it like a hobby, it's going to pay you like a hobby. I think that's first important to keep in mind. I think follow up is kind of taken for granted, but not done a lot. So they say the fortune is in the follow up.
yeah,
So make sure you're following up with potential leads, customers, past customers. Even I have to do better at that. And just networking so that you're in different spaces. And so you're not just networking with like another group of DJs. You want to network with the planners, with the people at corporate. I think in terms of professionalism, if you're networking, if you're joining different industry related associations that fit what you're looking to learn, that's a way you can get exposure to other people and other professionals in a more relaxed environment. So I like to share a combination of those 3 or 4 points in terms of professionalism and customer service because you can learn a lot from what other people are doing.
yes, yes. I find that I think it was, I don't know if it was your podcast, maybe because I just started following your podcast, but you had one about handwritten notes, and I've been doing handwritten notes for a long time. I'm finding it harder because people don't give you your mailing addresses. The pandemic kind of killed the handwritten notes on our side anyway. So I always send a thank you email right away within 24 hours and all of that kind of stuff. And I find it really helps to just keep you top of mind because that's the experience they're remembering, right?
Yeah. Thank you notes right away. Email. I think you can do a little research and try to find a mailing address. Most people have a PO box or something. Find something that you can send a handwritten note, and that will go a long way because nowadays what we get in the mail is junk mail and bills. So if a handwritten note shows up, you will be memorable, and that's good for a long period of time.
Yeah, it goes a long way for sure. How'd you end up on the stages? You've gone from DJing on stage is one thing, but we're not what we're talking about. You're actually speaking and doing. Is this where you want to go, or is this where it looks like you've done quite a bit of it already? Is that what you were doing before?
Yeah, professional speaking. So I continue to do that. My goal and what I do now is I bring the turntables to the stage with me. So I'll bring that, I'll play the music, I'll use music and tell stories to share creative lessons, things like that. So I bring the turntables and music to the stage. Been doing that now for about 8, 9 years, and it really picked up the last 3 or 4 years. So that's kind of on the stages, and I can speak to a corporate client. I talk about unlocking your creativity through the use of music and nostalgia. And, we can go as far back as the Isley Brothers, Cool in the Gang. We can be as current as Chapel Roan. And I have lessons in between, and that's what I talk about. And I love it. It's fun. People love the music. It's just trying to get on more stages. That's the goal.
Do you think that is the secret sauce that you have? I know a couple other musicians that are doing similar things. Rich Redmond's a drummer. He's a drummer for Jason Aldean, and he does the same thing. He does these drum camps where it's speaking to a like a high school group, but he's got it set up and he's drumming and all of that, and then he's talking about a lesson or whatever. I've seen this done a few times. I used to be part of a speaking business community here where there was a lot of people using those kind of things, and I think that's what sets you apart, even if you're talking about the same thing. Would you agree?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. That's the secret sauce. Sets me apart. Not too often will you have a DJ that will come up on stage and speak to you and use music. Most of the time, you'll just get a traditional speaker who will speak from stage and kind of they're like the guru or whatever. But if I'm bringing music and activating other senses in the brain and unlocking other ways where I'm taking your walls down, making you less defensive, that's going to have a longer impact. It's going to be stickier. I find when I present with music and tell those stories, it makes it stickier for the audience to remember longer.
Yes, and it worked for me as a caricature artist. And there's a lot of caricature artists up here where I am, and I'm sure there's a ton in LA. I know, or Las Vegas. I know there is. But you know what? A lot of them, like if you look at their Instagrams or whatever, they're talking about their art or they're showcasing their art, whatever it might be. And they're talented artists. Don't get me wrong, but when I was getting testimonials and looking at why are people hiring me, because I'm a good artist, but I'm not the best artist. It's hard to be the best artist.
Right.
But I looked at it and they were all like, hey, Bruce made us laugh. Oh, he's got the energy. He's got that personality. And that's what I started putting on my website, pictures of me laughing, at the gigs. And when people meet me, they go, yeah, that's all I get. When I look at all my testimonies, they're all, we had so much fun because I like to make them laugh and have fun with people. And I don't want to say I've got the gift of the gab, but I used to be a truck driver. So I've met a lot of different people and I understand different types of life. So if someone says, oh, I'm from Tennessee. Oh man, I remember the time I was in Tennessee, I can go into a story or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
And I found that's the secret for me. And I think a lot of creatives miss that. They focus so much on their craft, whatever that might be. They forget to bring the rest of them in there. Some of the musicians are better because they have to have a stage performance, but a lot of artists that are not necessarily on stage miss that, I find. What do you think?
I agree. I think you have a personality and your personality is very unique. So the more you can bring that out and share it with people through your work and your art, the better. Like, for example, for me, I love Mariah Carey, so I'll always talk about her when I'm speaking. I love pancakes, so I always mention pancakes, my DC sports teams, just little things about my personality. I love romantic comedies, 16 Candles all the way up to Notting Hill. So I'll think about different ways to insert that into my talk so people can understand, oh, he's just like me. He likes movies, this is his food, ice cream. So I think that a lot of us creatives sometimes we get so focused on our artwork that we forget to let our personality show. Then we forget that our personality is what allows us to have such impactful artwork, and I don't want that to happen.
Right, right. What kind of stages have you been on? Give us kind of an idea of who's the type of clients that are hiring you for your speaking events.
Mostly, most of the clients that get hired for speaking are corporate clients who have audiences that they're stuck in a rut. And maybe they're burned out or their creativity is missing from what they're doing, whether it be a sales team, whether it be operations. So they need to be inspired. They need to think about things a little differently in order to be more creative. So that's kind of one audience that I talk to. I also talk to musicians about just making better business decisions. But primarily, I talk to audiences, associations too, about just how to be more creative in their day-to-day work and day-to-day personal lives.
Oh, that's pretty. That's pretty. Do they get nervous when you come on and you inspire someone and then they quit? We're out
Yeah,
of
I generally
here.
don't promote them to quit. I say I don't say that, but I definitely want them to be more creative. So that's funny. That's funny. Doesn't happen too often, but that's always in the back of my mind. So
Yeah,
that's
well,
not my intention.
oh no, no, I was just kidding. No, you know what? Because I think the right speaker, and I've been a speaker as well, and I know a lot of speakers. The right speaker can really inspire you to think and take charge and change tomorrow, whatever it is that you're struggling with. And I find a lot of people struggle too long and don't kind of take that extra step to try and look, move on to wherever they want to go to, for sure. So
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
pretty interesting.
To add on to that, I would say the one thing I'm noticing more and more currently is that people know what they need to do, they just don't take action. The act of taking action is missing. People just get scared, they get lazy. It could be as simple as wanting to find a new job, wanting to lose weight, or as major as wanting to move across the country or wanting to go back to school. People know what they really, really want to do, they just don't do it. Taking action is, I don't want to say it's becoming extinct, but it's definitely an endangered species.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk that a lot of the podcasts that I listen to where people think, "Oh, I'm too old to go back and do that." And then you
Mhm.
hear some 90-year-old that went back to college, you
Yeah.
know. And I think if people look at, well, because we're all living longer, like how much time do I actually have left? If you are even in your 60s, which is where I sit, you know, assuming you live to 85, you still have time for another fairly long career.
Yeah.
The way careers go today, people aren't working for 30 years in one spot anymore. They're moving on and on and on. So that's there is time to go and do whatever it is you want to do before you go, for
Absolutely.
sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. You look good for a 60-year-old, so I will
Oh
say
yeah,
that.
yeah.
So
I like to think it's because I keep laughing and smiling. I don't know. I won't show you the gray hairs. That's why I always wear a hat. So,
okay. Okay.
keep the gray hairs hidden, and then you look young.
Amen. I can relate. I can relate.
Yeah, let's talk about your book, The Quiet Storm. What happened to the R&B groups? Come on, Amani. What happened?
Oh, it was an imperfect storm, a combination of, money, changing desires in terms of, social media causing things to be more singular. I think that the heyday in the 90s, it was just really, really strong. And I think that Telecommunications Act in the United States for 96, the radio is not no longer kind of diversified. It's more playlist based. That's a huge aspect. Mom and pop record stores are going away. The primary publications, we're looking Ebony Magazine, Essence, Jet, Vibe Magazine that would really promote and share what these R&B groups are doing went away. Essence is still around quarterly. The others are around digitally, but it's not the same. I think that's a big factor. Those are kind of the factors that I highlight in the book. The music recession of 2007, 2008, record labels spending much less money on groups, makeup, choreography, that they just figured out that, singular. There's no more like musicians needed. People can sing off a track. It's changed. It's different. I still have hopes and belief that they can come back, but it's different. And groups still work. You look at K-pop, I always say this, groups still work. K-pop groups are working. So what can we learn from that genre that we can adopt? I say we in terms of R&B groups so that we can kind of have a comeback. That's a quick summary of what happened.
So I guess and you mentioned all the things that have gone wrong with music as far as I'm concerned. And now we've got AI coming in. What do you see where I just look at the passion of these musicians. A lot of them are still spending the ones that are in my age bracket are still spending money having an album produced to make CDs that nobody has a CD player for, and they're streaming and they're going, oh, there's another 8 cents. They're not, I had one of them say, even if I did like 100,000 streams a month, I'm still not going to make what I need to make, to live. So where does the industry go from here? Any thoughts on that? You and I are on kind of after the production side, but what are your musicians talking about? Like, there's got to be, maybe this is opportunity. Like you said, all those things went away. There's opportunity for somebody to come in and say, hey, you know what, let's get this back. But then you need the music to go with it, right?
Yeah, I think musicians need to look at streaming as marketing. That is just marketing right there. You don't get a lot of money from streaming unless you're part of the top 1%. I think now more than ever, we talked about it early on, it's really important for musicians, independent, mid-tier, to grow their own communities. And you
Right.
need to have a place where they can meet, whether you create a Patreon, whether you have a Discord server, or whether you use Even, you have to grow your community. I always teach and coach my musicians on the 1,000 True Fans concept, which is from Kevin Kelly. You get 100 people, 1,000 people to spend $100 on you a year. That's $100,000 American. And then you go from there and just grow. And I think you grow your email list. You have a really good, attractive lead magnet on your website. You curate your email list. You continue to provide content. You have a place where your community can gather and get to know each other. Maggie Rogers, one of my favorite Discord servers is hers because her community is there. She announces things early there. You have other artists who have really strong Patreons, so you have to create your own community and be just grow your super fans. That's a really common concept now, super fans. So that's what I work with people on. It's very effective. It takes time, but that way you're not worried about your streaming numbers. You're not worried about how many follows you are. But then you do, when you go on tour to the different cities around the world, your community will come out and support you. And if you can fill a 100-room place in all these different cities, you can go on a small tour. Then maybe you get on to be open up for another act, support another act, and goes from there. So that's what I teach. That's what works now, which I think will continue to work, is it's going to be more like these smaller micro communities of artists. Just grow your community, focus on that, spend less time focusing on streaming. Now, streaming is marketing, so you got to put it out there on all the platforms. But, don't worry so much about getting placed on Rap Caviar or all these big playlists. Just put it out there and grow your community.
I find I've got a few artists that we have. When I say we have a few artists, I'm not doing what you're doing, Amani, just so you know. We have our internet station because I was getting sent. Like we started. I've been podcasting for over a decade. That's kind of where I started. I didn't know what a mic was when I started that. I went from kind of speaking to podcasting, and we're all in the trucking industry, so I'm not even at some of those
Yeah.
mainstream places. So the podcast we've always had and in the pandemic I wanted that community connection. So I started the internet radio station. It's more the fun side, the trucking music and, all that kind of, we have a trivia game, all those kind of more of an entertainment than business and careers, which is what I talk about on the podcast. But we do have some people who are truck drivers that are musicians as well.
Mhm.
And some of them are not doing shows. They can't because of just the way their job goes. They're not around half the time. They still have a love of music. They're making music. It's the passion, but where do they go? Because they're still looking to make money. And I'm a firm believer, even this stuff, like it has to have a return. It doesn't always have to be money. It might be some other return, but when you're doing this kind of stuff, there has to be a return on investment, or else you burn out and you
Yeah.
go out, right? To stay, we're at 1,500 episodes on our podcast. To get there takes a certain amount of dedication. It's a daily show now, and I almost quit. I'm not afraid to say that. 100 episodes, I was almost out, and I came back. So, how does someone who's not maybe going to do shows? Can they sell enough t-shirts to make a living? Like, is merch where it is? I don't know if merch is.
Merch is a possibility. Definitely add the merch in there. I think that's where and I use this one because it's the best current example of what we have. There are other examples coming up, but that's where those artists they would create a Patreon where you have different tiers of support where people can pay you $5 a month, 25 a month, 100 a month to support your art. They get free merch, maybe they get discounts. Maybe instead of them doing a show every month, they could do a live, a live Zoom from maybe the truck or whatever, something creative that will show them so that you're giving people an inside look into your process. People will buy your music. Then, okay, so you got the Patreon set up and you're growing your number of subscribers and community members. Then you post your music up on Bandcamp. So you have your music that you've created, produced, mixed, mastered. It goes up on Bandcamp. You list it for $10 for maybe, a whole album, but people will contribute 20, 25, $30 per album. That adds up. So now you have your Patreon bucket where people are going there. You have your Bandcamp. The thing I love about Bandcamp is that when people invest in you, you get their email address. So you're growing your email list. You do that. So then you have your merch, you have your Bandcamp, you have your Patreon. You just work that. You just work that, grow your Patreon, and you can get a sustainable living for there. The wild card would be, depending on the genre of music you are in, truck drivers, it could be country, rock, pop, hip hop, whatever. Then for the long game, you want to start to try to get into sync. Sync is very hard. It's challenging, but you never know what your song could be the right fit for a commercial, for a video game. Maybe it's a TV show where they feature a truck driver in one of the episodes, and your song is picked. So I think if you activate all of these elements in your business, you don't have to depend on touring. And then those would be the four I would focus on right away.
Okay, good advice. Good advice. That's a good thing to do. What I don't know if you mentioned it. We talked a little bit about AI. What do you think? Is this going to take over? Where's that going with?
Yeah.
Especially musicians and artists, because
Yeah.
when it came out recently, I don't know if you saw it, there was a bunch of AI caricatures going around. My caricature friends were going bananas. Like, I mean, there's big hate mail going on online and all of that. My musician friends, I've got a lot of people that are starting to send me electronic music. It sounds pretty good, but I mean, I don't even know if they really wrote it or so. Where's this going now? Any thoughts on that from your perspective?
Oh. We have a lot of thoughts, I would say. I think AI is a really, really great tool. It's a great tool for musicians to use. They want to create a reference track. They want to see how my songs sound with a full orchestra. But I think it will always come down to the in-person experience. Like we're humans, so AI music can only go so far. You might see some avatars or holograms performing, but people get tired of that. But you want to see a person sing the song that they've written, and you also want to see like, okay, maybe the song that they're singing about is about a lost lover. And when they get to a certain part in the song that reminds them of them, they sing a little bit off key, not on purpose, but because they're so emotional. Or maybe they break down and have to pause in the middle of the song because, it just means so much to them. Or, maybe they sing a song totally differently. Jimi Hendrix did the U.S. national anthem at Woodstock, and he played it completely different. No one had ever heard that before, and people were crazy. And now it ends up being one of the best renditions. Well, AI is only going based off of history. It can't really predict what's in the future. So I always tell my artists, use it as a tool. It's here, whether you like it or not, but nothing, in my opinion, will replace a live in-person appearance between a human to other humans in the audience. We crave that. We need that now more than ever. The pandemic proved that to us. So if you're performing your music in front of humans, that can't be replaced, in my opinion.
Right. Good. Now, from a DJ standpoint, I am really interested to hear this. I'm going to dig a little deeper here. Do you play or accept music that's AI generated?
No. I play only humans. That's
Okay.
my yes, no. Only humans, and I will vet it out to make sure it's a human, and that's just my thing. Yeah.
Thanks for listening to the Cashing In on Creativity podcast. If you'd like to learn more about Amani and his work, go to amaniexperience.com. If you need a DJ, if you want to buy his book, learn more about him, invite him to speak, all of that can be done at amaniexperience.com. Thanks for being on the show, Amani. Hey, if you're enjoying the Cashing In on Creativity podcast, if you're an artist, author, or musician, this is the podcast for you. Subscribe on whatever platform you're listening or watching us on, and subscribe to us on our socials as well. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook. All right, my friends, we will talk to you later. Be good out there. Subscribe so you don't miss another episode, and we will talk to you next time.